Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. It's not time for us to look at what the papers are reporting. The Nation newspaper is the first. Edo federal government will rely less on borrowing to drive growth. We will depend more on our own resources than on international institutions. Next is Nigeria News Direct. WOF 2026. Federal government declares end to external borrowing. Eyes Trump deal. As minister rules out IMF bailout, bets on mineral resources to navigate America First era. The Daily Times. Chinese firms in Nigeria face scrutiny over alleged payment diversions, tax evasion in CIG Motors Excel led. And the Punch newspaper. Alleged terror financing. Malami faces long detention as DSS intensifies investigation. Secret police signal tough stance. Prepare court action to detain ex-AGF further as terror financing case unfolds. Next is This Nigeria. Tax. Give vulnerable persons time to adjust before enforcement. Catholic bishops demand. Urge transparency, accountability, rising hunger, threat to global economic stability, UN warns. Next is The Guardian newspaper. Electoral Act. Gaps in e-transmission, vote buying, sanctions spark calls for reform. And the Daily Trust. Abduction, Kaduna, villagers recount ordeal. The Blueprint newspaper. DIMDEX 2026. Nigeria's indigenous DICON D7G defense platform debut in Doha, and country asserting defense autonomy, says General Morakinyo. It's an opportunity to expand capabilities, General Main Nasara. Next is the Platform Times. Fashola, Nigeria must stand tall, not beg over visa bans, says Nigeria should leverage citizen spending abroad, urges government to rethink diplomatic strategies. Nature News newspaper. Coastal dredging boom threatens livelihoods, Lagos Lagoon ecosystem. And last but not least is the Sport Alive. Atalanta versus Athletic Club. Lukman wanted to play at all cost. Palladino says he's happy to have Nigerian back in the team. That's about it. All right, then let's get down to brass tag. I'll be doing this with two of the bevy of beauties right beside me here in the studio. Olamide Odekule, she's blushing. And Ria Abdul. All right then, Olamide, let me start off with you. If you look at the Nation newspaper as well as the Nigerian News Direct, they're talking about the federal government saying that they want to rely less on borrowing. You know, looking at the World Economic Forum going on in Davos, Switzerland, where it's saying that we would definitely double down on borrowing, external borrowing, and we're also eyeing Trump deal because we want to look inward, generate more revenue internally, and be able to use this money, you know, to the benefit of the entire nation.
Absolutely. Nigeria stood very tall at the World Economic Forum 2026.
Right.
And the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, he inaugurated for the first time ever something called Nigeria House. And it's a platform or a hub for Nigeria to communicate with global private investors to attract more investments. And so I'm not surprised that he's saying this. Nigeria has to take a stand, and we have to move from debt-driven growth to revenue-driven growth, which means that essentially we have to attract investment and unlock domestic funds as opposed to constantly borrowing to fill these gaps. And I think the inauguration of Nigeria House tells us that we're trying to have important forward-looking economic conversations with the rest of the world. This Boroboro.
You've always been big on, you know, we're borrowing too much, and you know, one of the problems of borrowing, it's okay to borrow, but the thing is the interest rate is usually high.
And the pressure of repayment.
Exactly, and then you spend so much. And we know that the Bretton Woods of this world, the IMF, the World Bank, they will always advise you to come on, take money from us, and they'll make it somewhat difficult for you to pay back. But it's good that the revenue is, you know, is growing up. We're looking at tax, what's it called, ensuring up our tax net, and ensuring that whatever it is that we are making, we're using it to the benefit of the Nigerian people.
So I'm very happy with the Nigeria House. I think it's a fantastic initiative. But then again, I don't have a problem with borrowing. Oftentimes I've said it, everybody owes in one way or the other, so I don't have a problem with that. My only problem is that when we borrow, the monies that we borrow, do we really use it for what it's supposed to be used for? That's right. Knowing that we have to pay back this money, and not just pay, but pay with interest. Oftentimes we've seen that Nigeria has owed a whole lot. You remember at some point, even Olusegun Obasanjo, former president, had to even go and say, please, waive us off these monies that we are owing because it's too much. The interest has gone too high. So I love what they're saying right now, that let's do things, you know, by ourselves. Let's be able to get money through ourselves. themselves through tax, and that's why when we tell people to pay their tax, they do not even understand. You know, these are the things that will help Nigeria from borrowing, because I tell you, if we keep borrowing, the interest keeps getting high. When we make money, we are not using it for infrastructure. We are now using that money to pay the interest of loans that we have already borrowed. So I think it's a fantastic initiative. All I'm saying is that they should make sure that they follow through with it. When we hear initiatives like this, I'm always very pleased. But then again, on the other hand, I'm very skeptical, because we say things, but do we follow through with it? I hope the Nigeria House that they've put in place is something that has come to stay. It's not just something that we're saying, but something that we're following through.
Absolutely.
But I think the less Nigeria borrows, the better for Nigeria in terms of infrastructure.
Yeah. All right, then let's move on to the Daily Times. Chinese firms in Nigeria face scrutiny over alleged payment diversions, tax evasion in CIG Motors Excel-led. We know that some of these foreign nationals, the companies, invested in Nigeria, some of them are very good at tax evasion. And it's so sad that when you go to these countries, for instance, China, if you evade tax, what's it called? The penalty will be from 3 to 7 years, and then you would also be made to pay from up to more than times 5 of what you are owing. Imagine if you're owing 1 billion naira in tax, you'll be made to pay 5 billion naira. But we have these companies, coming to Nigeria, and then they are doing everything to evade tax. Also against the backdrop of this, the CIG Motor guy who, the former boss who was director rather, Jubril Arubunade, who was sacked, and he said it wasn't sacked. It was because of the financial misconduct of the organization not paying tax, which is also inclusive.
Very, very interesting. When we look at the amount of if we culminate the amount of money, the monies that we're losing from tax evasion of these big companies, these are big fiscal leakages to the economy that we're talking about. I mean, these expatriates, they come in here, they get juicy deals worth billions of naira, and you can't do your basic civic duty. What does that inform us about how they feel about Nigeria? It's very, very worrisome. There should be regulation of the tax action across board, across local companies, across foreign companies as well, and how Nigeria handles these big companies evading taxes will tell us if our tax enforcement is systemic or selective.
I just wanted to say something to what Olamide is saying. I feel like we as Nigerians, we've given these people the precedence to do what they're doing, because even some Nigerian companies, let's be realistic here, they want to evade tax. And when I see people that are doing things like that, I wonder, you want the growth of Nigeria, you're complaining, the government is not doing well, the federal government, this is happening, that is happening, but you as your own part, as a citizen, what are you doing? We've given these people the wings to fly, because if we were paying our tax, no foreign person will come. You cannot do that in China. You just said what will happen to you. China has Even UK, even America, when we want to jackpot, we feel like, oh, it's better there. But the citizens there, they actually pay their tax. So I feel like it actually starts with us as well. When this whole thing happened with Jibril, Olamide did well to bring that story to us. We spoke about it. And then I saw what Jibril put out. I'm like, this is going to be a long story because there's so many things hidden. This is just the list. There's so many things hidden, with what happened. And that's why they were just quickly trying to just put it out, that we sacked him, everybody should castigate him. But I feel like we need to look into that.
It's not the first time I'm hearing that story, because there was a time I was in an Uber, what's it called? I was in one of these e-hailing rides, and then the guy told me, pointed the company for me in Ikeja, and was saying that the leadership of that company, I think owned by one Indian or something, was blaming the accountants for ensuring that they paid tax. Said there are ways of doing this thing. We know how we circumvent all of this, but it's so good that the tax what's it called? The tax law has been implemented, or is being implemented, and then we'll see that all of this will be addressed. Pronto.
We can
Let's move on to the Punch newspaper. Alleged terror financing. Malami faces long detention as DSS intensifies investigation. Secret police signal tough stance. Prepare court action to detain ex-AGF further as terror financing case unfolds. So this is an ongoing, investigation, an ongoing case. He's not the only one. He himself, the wife, and also the son appearing before the courts, and he's alleging political, he's saying that he's politically motivated. But whether politically motivated or not, we have to get down to the root of the matter. All right, then let's move on to this Nigeria tax. The Catholic bishops are saying, give vulnerable persons time to adjust before enforcement. Urge transparency, accountability, rising hunger, threat to global economic stability. UN is also warning. On one hand, we're happy that the tax has been implemented, it's been implemented. On the other hand, the Catholic bishops are saying, come on, give us more time. How much time do we want to get?
Yes, the United Nations for the longest time and the World Food Programme, they've been warning for the longest time that Nigeria has been in a food crisis. We are all acting like we are not, but we are actually in a food crisis, and that is what we need to understand.
What do you mean food crisis?
A food crisis, there is a shortage of bioavailability of certain foods, of a lot of food in Nigeria. Right. We're making do. If we look at the staple foods that we eat, Ibrahim, if you look at this, rice, yam, bread, there's no bioavailability of food, and according to the World Food Programme, that amounts to a food crisis and a food scarcity. Wow. And when the bishop saying this now, the churches and religious institutions often bear the brunt where the state fails. So they have intel and data that we don't have access to. If they are pushing for protection of these vulnerable groups, perhaps we should take a listen. Although the federal government did tell us a while that it was going to be enforced on the 1st
so
of
if you look,
January.
before we come in, breaking it down, people with personal income tax, earning 800,000 naira, they're not expected, they're exempted to pay tax. Even small business holders who have less than 100 million naira are exempt from corporate tax. So I do not know exactly where they are coming from. Although they are saying the value-added tax, that will be taxed on broader businesses would also impact on people who will get, by increasing the price of all
Ibrahim,
this.
whatever we say, we cannot wait any longer. And I'm glad that the president has said no turning back. We just spoke about people invading tax. We just spoke about Nigerians not even wanting to pay their tax. So yes, the Catholic bishop has said something, but I think that, does he understand that, paying of tax is the duty of a citizen? So I feel like sometimes we're very lackadaisical. Oftentimes we put a lot of sentiment in things, and that is why we see that our economy will not grow because of these kind of sentiments. You are supposed to pay your tax. It's your duty. The government has made it easy. They've told you, 800,000 and less, you are not going to pay tax. The question I want to ask is that what more do we want? And that's why when this wanted to happen, we saw people pushing back, let's wait, it will not happen, on the 1st of January 2026. I'm happy that it still happened. People may go against me, but I sit on this table and say that I do not agree with this. I believe that it is your duty as a citizen to pay your tax. If you want your economy to be better, if you want your country to be better, you go out and you pay your tax.
I love that. All right, then let's move on to the Guardian newspaper. And they say in Electoral Act, gaps in e-transmission, vote buying sanctions spark calls for reform. Since 2023 general election, we've been talking about. Before then, there had been this rewriting, updating of the electoral guidelines. And they're saying that when it comes to guidelines, why don't we upgrade it to proper law so that we'll be able to implement them? For instance, mandatory electronic transmission should be done, and then, under Section 60 of the Act to minimize human interference and increase results credibility. And then we also need to strengthen vote buying sanctions, not giving it vague definition. Anyone who buys vote or who sells vote or whatever it is, even if a candidate is involved, should be disqualified.
Absolutely. E-transmission and the various other technological safeguards that are put in place when we talk about elections, they are there, and there are gaps in transmission. However, on the other hand, if the policy, Ibrahim, like you said, if the law allows for disputes, allows for electoral political disputes, allows for court reversals, allows for electoral disputes, then these e-transmission gaps are nothing but idealistic ideas. And like you said, the sanctions for vote buying are theoretical. They are not practical.
Absolutely.
They're not, and they're not always enforced. So this idea of technology is very idealistic. If it's not put into the fine print, whose neck can we hold when they buy votes?
And Josh Amopiton, he has a whole lot to do.
On the table, absolutely.
Especially for next year, for that 2027 election. I feel like a lot of things have to be put in place. It's easy for us to go and say technology, but what are the things we're putting in place for technology to even work better for us? I feel like vote buying, we see that happen a lot of times during election. What are they doing to make sure it doesn't happen again? And Josh has assured us. So I'm hoping that, this 2027, he proves himself for us to also see INEC as that very credible institution.
Under Mahmoud Yakubu, he did a lot. He said they've done the administrative aspect of it. The rest actually lies on the table of the National Assembly. So we see what happens. Let's move on to the Platform Times, where Fashola is saying Nigeria must stand tall, not beg over visa bans. Says Nigeria should leverage citizen spending abroad. Urges government to rethink diplomatic strategies. And I think I love this in opposition. When we have someone, I was watching UK parliamentarians, debate yesterday, and one of the parliamentarians said, Trump is behaving like an international gangster. And we have to do what we have to do. This is not, it's either we bribe him, we kowtow to his dictates, or we face him up front. Countries are now coming together to say, come on, enough of this bullying.
I love that Fashola has given us the economic imperative. I like what he said. We have to leverage on the amount of clout per se that we bring to these foreign countries. When you think about how Nigerians are investing in foreign countries, when you think about the amount of economic revenue we pour into foreign countries, think of America, think of wherever it is you want to think of. We have a lot of economic power, and we have to stand tall in that and be patriotic. It's scary to think that the moment America moves, Nigerians are quivering in their boots because we're worried about whether we'll be given geographical access or not. This should not be so. And I will commend Fashola. He has always been very, very Nigeria-oriented. I mean, the trademark Dirty December came about. He was the first person to actually come out and say, look, we made billions of naira in revenue. He understands Nigeria and loves Nigeria. We all need to take a page out of his book.
Just to quickly add on this, I think that Nigerians as well, we are our own problems. I was speaking to someone and they said, oh, there are restrictions to go to America now. We will rush to Canada. We also need to change our perception. Why are we running? The thing is that why are you running? When I say this, I get castigated a lot. But I feel like I'm coming from a place of Nigeria made me. So I feel like I owe a lot of gratitude to Nigeria. But I feel like there's a lot that can be gotten here that Nigerians do not even understand. If I, a Ghanaian, can come and be here and just blend like a Nigerian as well, I feel like the people here do not understand what they sit on. We're the giants of Africa.
Maybe those arguments were saying, they'll say, why did you leave your country in the first place? Maybe you too, you ran from your country. But that's not the thing. I love the fact that you're saying, this is Nigeria.
This is Nigeria.
For you to see this benefit from Nigeria, then why are Nigerians running from Nigeria?
And when we talk about this visa ban thing, it's really sad because people are even going for different reasons for trade. So I feel like if these countries come together and just see how, we can make our country good as well. A lot of people are investing abroad. A lot of Nigerians are taking money from Nigeria that you can use to make Nigeria better abroad. And that abroad, they do not want you.
That's
what are we really doing?
Fantastic.
There are people who have been failed by the system in the past.
Exactly. But it's come see, come sa. It's our town. America is theirs. This is
Nature News newspaper says, coastal dredging boom threatens livelihoods, Lagos Lagoon ecosystem. So if you see the Makoko area, for instance, and some other places where you see, constant dredging, people are taking this sharp sand to, gentrify, build whatever they want to build, but it's affecting our ecosystem, affecting the fish, affecting the farmers, the fishers, and the fishermen who are seeking to ensure that we have food on our table. Now, some of them are going into laboring, they're going into technology or mechanic or whatever. So we have to do something. Lagos is saying we are doing something, but it is not felt.
Absolutely. There is a price to pay for urbanization and modernization, and that oftentimes means that diverse wildlife, and more even alarming, is human lives will be pushed to the side. Right now, whether we like it or not, we are seeing a marginalization of the communities like Makoko, of waterfront dwellers, who are now being pushed out and gentrified by these big corporations and people who want big waterfront properties. Aside from that, the biodiverse life that is available in Lagos waters, when we talk about medicine, when we talk about food, when we talk about the industry that surrounds our waters.
Absolutely.
I don't think that we should trade one for the other.
Yeah, very quickly.
But quickly, I'll just say that when we are thinking about the waterfront, where are we putting the people that were living in Makoko? Because I saw an image, and that's one story that I really want to follow as well. Where are the people going to? And oftentimes we now see this.
Some are still in the
now
canoes.
See that they become nuisance on the street. You see them under the bridge, with Tokumba Wahaba said should not happen again. So I feel like, yes, it's good to make Nigeria better, good to make Lagos look better, but where are we taking these people that this has been their livelihood? Absolutely.
Well, last but not least, we see Sporting Life saying Atalanta versus Atletico Club. Lukman wanted to play at all costs. Palladini saying that he's happy to have Nigerian back in the team. It looks like they were all on holidays. Osimhen, from leaving Turkey, to play for Nigeria. But I'm so happy with what these guys actually did. The same thing for Galatasaray versus Atletico Madrid. Osimhen to lead Gala's attack. It showed desire and concentration. So we've released those guys, to go and do more exploits.
Exactly.
And then when it's time to call them, then the clarion call should be answered. Kudos to our guys.
They did well, actually.
Absolutely.
We have to give it to them.
All right, then that's about it for the newspapers up for review today. Nigeria's economic outlook just got a boost. Join us after the break for more. We'll be right back.